I've got the aluminum in the 4-jaw chuck just because it has a little taller of jaws than my 3-jaw does. And I know there's a lot of stick out, but I think if we take it easy with aluminum, we should be okay. So the first thing we're going to do is face off this end and then drill and ream our 1/2-inch hole through it. Now I have the lathe slowed down to a slower speed, and I'm just going to use a 1/2-inch reamer and run it all the way through the hole. Now we're going to cut out the pocket on this end that will hold our threading die. I'm just going to keep working at this by hand. I'll bring you back when we're getting close. Get started, but we'll take another skim pass of a couple more thousandths. That's what we wanted. Very little play in here, but a nice fit. Now I've got the piece flipped around in the 4-jaw, and the compound here is set to 60 degrees. So I'm going to make a couple passes inside the edge of this hole and chamfer it so that I can use a center to support this end while we knurl the outside here. Now we're ready to get set up for knurling. The only knurling tool I have is this cheap Chinese swivel type tool. Someday I'll definitely invest in one of the clamp type Eagle Rock or similar brand knurling tools that doesn't put nearly the stress on your cross slide. But for now we're going to get by with this one. Slow down the lathe a little bit. This should be our last pass down and back. We have almost complete diamond knurls formed. I'm just going really slow, feeding by hand, and using plenty of WD-40 to keep it lubricated while we cut it. Next, what we're going to do while it's in the lathe is cut just a series of decorative grooves in here just to break up this long looking knurled part, and we'll chamfer this edge while we're at it. Here's a shot of how the knurls turned out. Pretty happy with them. This was the first time I used the coarsest knurling wheels on that swivel type knurler. Nice even diamonds all the way around. So now we're going to mark on here. All I did was take a Sharpie and put 3 little marks where the set screws go into the outside of this threading die. So now I'm just going to transfer those marks to the outside of here, and that's what we'll use to line up the drill bit to drill the set screw holes. So let's go over to the mill and drill these holes. We have the part set up over in the mill now. I used some copper shims and a rag just to clamp it so that the vise doesn't mess up the finish on it at all. Sighted right down the end here, and used the drill bit and our mark and the center of the hole to line everything up, and then just spaced it back off of the face so that we'll hit the little divot here in the die. So we're going to center drill and tap, and then we'll rotate it and repeat twice. Now we're back over at the lathe. I have the 3/4 inch bar in here running true. Our set screws in the end here to hold the die in place. And I'm just going to approximate the same length here and put a mark on the bar. So this end will get turned down to 1/2 inch so that it slides easily into there. And then we'll spin it around and put the Morse taper on this side. We're starting to get pretty close to 1/2 inch now. We're at about 521. So I'm going to switch to using a mic so that we're more accurate. And yeah, 522 or so. And we're going to just sneak up on that 1/2 inch and test fit it with our part as we get close. So a few more passes and we should be there. Pretty good finish on it. Still about 13 thousandths to go, so I'll set up another pass and get us down to a few thousandths. This should be our last pass. We're just taking off a couple thousandths, and then we'll hit it with a little sandpaper and test fit our part. That's a really nice fit. There's very little slop. It's on there nice and smooth. As you can see, we have the arbor flipped around in here now. I have the compound swung way over in this angle, and I used a dial indicator on it and swept the Morse taper inside of the tailstock here. So I tapped the compound back and forth until this dial indicator was reading true with the bore of this Morse taper. That's how we have it adjusted. The carriage is locked in place, so I'm just using the compound to feed back and forth across here and advance in a little at a time until we get close to our Morse taper. You can find charts like this online that give you a basic idea of Morse taper or other tapers too. So we're going for a Morse taper number 2, so I'm just going to keep turning this down until the small end gets close to about 572. So that's what we're going to do. Let's see how it fits. I think it'll be good. So let me get some other stock in the truck here and we'll test out threading it with our new threading die holder. Alright, I've got a piece of brass in here with a short section turned down to 1/4 inch and a 1/4-20 die in here. So all I'm going to do is put a couple drops of oil inside of here. So it spins freely on the arbor. And the way this works, you just slide the tailstock up. You don't have to lock it in place or anything like that. This spins freely on here. As soon as you grab it and push it into the workpiece and the threads grab, it'll pull itself forward and thread onto there. If it gets tight or if you come up to a shoulder or anything like that, all you do is let go and this is free to spin with the workpiece. It'll just spin on this arbor. There's no rotational or any sort of forces on this taper. It is purely for alignment of your die. So enough of the talking, let's turn on the lathe. I have it in back gears, slowed down, and see how this thing works. So all I'm going to do is grab this and push it forward into the workpiece. And now it's grabbed and it's threading forward. If I let go, it'll just spin freely with the workpiece and I can grab it again and it'll keep threading. So we're getting close to this shoulder up here. As soon as it hits the shoulder, I can feel and I let go. Popped out of back gear, that's why it's just spinning freely. So if you run it in reverse, you can pull it right off and unthread it. And that's all there is to it. So I'm sure I can do, this was 1/4 inch, probably 5/16, probably 3/8. That's probably about the limit of what I'm going to be able to hold on to and still make cut threads into something. I hope you liked the video. Thanks a lot for watching and be sure and subscribe for more shop projects coming soon.